David and housekeeping Austin Jeff.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Inside Scoop with Alex and Jeff. I'm Alex Dingman.
I'm Jeff Doss. Let's do this, guys. We got a big episode, and we are sponsored by the Virtual Fight Tour. And, man, they have a lot of big things coming up in September. As the King of New York, they're going to bring back USA versus Europe. So we're going to be doing this on American soil, and this is going to be a huge event. So make sure you guys get prepared and start getting ready. So, but yeah, that's funny, Will. People have been staring at the sun all day. So yeah, they may not have saw the alert. So share it and let everybody know that we are live and we are ready for a big show tonight as we are talking about Ocean State Grand Nationals, where there was a lot of big news, a lot of historic things that happened, and it was a lot of fun. So Ocean State has been a sponsor this year, as we have been sharing about this event for a long time.
It's become a big deal. It really has. If you think about it, this is kind of what I love about the state of the sport right now is, 10, 15, 20 years ago, it was kind of like decided like, no, these are the major events you go to. And they are pretty consistent. The state of the sport right now, if your event wants to be like one of the major, like have to go to events, it can be done. It can be done like that. And Ocean State Grand Nationals is one of the premier events to go to. And boom, they made sure they were like, we're going to do it right now. And, post the 2020s and beyond, it's a new era, right? We're living in a new era of martial arts, and they're taking control of this. They're like, we're going to be one of the premier events, and they're doing a great job. We had some, like you said, we had some historic moments happen at Ocean State Grand Nationals. We're definitely going to get into that. We had some excitement. We're going to get into that. It's always a little bit of controversy. We're going to get into that.
Get into that.
But it's also a great time. So if you were at Ocean State Grand Nationals and you got a memory or two and you wanted to mention something, drop it in the chat. We'll see what we can make happen.
So first off, one of the things that was cool was just the different people from that area that I got to see that I hadn't seen in a long time, right? Cool thing. Rich Batista was in the building, the former promoter of New England.
I like that guy.
He was there, the DJ for the night was Joey Greenhall, so I got to see Joey. So I came off the stage after I competed, and he was the first person I said hey to. Yep. And then after I finished competing, I'm walking around, and who comes up to me but Pedro Xavier. So that's super cool getting to talk to him. And then also Ross was in the building. So I got to hang out with Ross on Thursday night, and he's walking around. You also got Zolt Maradi in the building. I mean, it's just a cool experience, right?
This is just a who's who of sport martial arts, like just hanging around, and occasionally you'll get that at a tournament where you're just hanging around greatness, and just hope a little bit of that rubs off on you. If you're just starting the sport, 2-3 years, and you get to hang around, and we've talked about Pedro Xavier, and then you get a chance to meet him. Yeah. Go introduce yourself, talk to him. All right. That's another thing that's great about, our sport is everyone's extremely approachable and accessible.
Oh yeah. I mean, Pedro, after the finals, stayed an extra 30 minutes, taking pictures with people, talking to people. So, dude, I mean, he's a great guy. And same thing with Ross. Another person that, I mean, it's really one of my favorite things about me going to Ocean State is I'm going to get to see Mike Conroy. And dude,
Oh
it was
yeah.
so much fun. Conroy is like an uncle to me, and so it was just fun hanging out with him. And lots of cool people to see. You know who else was out competing? Sheldon Ray. Sheldon Ray was there competing.
Ooh, nice.
We talked before last week saying Akin Williams was going to be there. Akin was there. And sure, there's some people that I'm missing, but it was really cool to see so many great competitors from that area. Last year we saw her return. She came back this year as well. Sammy Smith was there competing. So just a lot of cool things, man. And this tournament definitely brings just a different level to it, and they continue to grow. And I tell you what, it's hard to figure out where to start. But let's just start with maybe, I think, just some big moments and many first, because I think we need to talk about that. There's a lot of accomplishments that happened this week. So we'll talk about that. But I do want to say, again, big claps to Christine and Don Rodriguez. They continue to put on a great show. They run a smooth tournament, and they keep upping the ante when it comes to, what they do for the competitors and the school owners. So great job. I mean, I think one thing is, if we have anything to complain about, most people know it's probably how tight it is in the main room and then having to move in multiple rooms, right? But here's the thing, and they know that. So if they have something that's not going to work well, they're going to over deliver on other things. And a lot of that is the smoothness of, running it on time. They're giving the prize money. They're doing big 6-foot trophies for the underbelts. There was just a lot of awesome things there that they did. You're talking about the KA award, all kinds of stuff that they do to over deliver on that end to maybe compensate for just some things that, hey, this is the best spot that we have for us to make this tournament happen. And honestly, you know what? The hotel is a great hotel. Love the hotel. Lots of great places to eat around there. The hotel food and the bar and the restaurants are great. So they do an amazing job.
Well, that's what's always great about a great tournament is you don't want it to feel like, all right, this is the same thing that we did 3 weeks ago in a different city. Yeah. All right. You want a little bit of Rhode Island in your tournament. That's what you want. You want people to experience that, right? You want to have a little bit of Atlanta when you go to the battle. You want to have a little bit of that experience, right? Yeah. Unless you're in an area where you're like, maybe let's not highlight that, which if you are, then maybe you should put your tournament somewhere else, right? But I do think that they do a great job of doing that and say, hey, let's get a little bit of this New England area in our tournament and let's show people that.
Yeah. It's also cool, like, that we've been in that hotel for so many years that like the place that's like, it was probably, I don't know, 1, 2 in the morning. And a lot of the JPM guys, Jackson and those guys were in there talking in this separate room. And I opened the door, and I was telling someone, oh, this is where we used to do our forums and team fighting on Friday before the tournament really started on Saturday. And they're in there and none of them even knew that. I was like, dude, we used to compete here, right here. This is where Jody and Raymond, the first time they ever fought on Straight Up was here in this room, things like that. Right. And then I'm like, oh, this is the tournament where the elevator got stuck and Jimmy Pham and Jeff Gajiri were on the elevator for like an hour, 2 hours. And we open up and they're just playing cards together and we're like, and didn't want to end, and we're like, hey, we got you out of the elevator, like finally we got you saved. We're in the middle of a good game, like just great moments and memories like that.
I think tournaments should just hire you as a tour guide as well.
Yes.
He's here. He's going to be performing in the finals, but also your tour guide this evening for the 7:00 show, Jeff Doss.
Oh man, that's true. Ross kind of said something like that too when we were hanging out. That's really funny. All right. So lots of big firsts. All right. So first off, and I'm going to tell you, it wasn't just one or two things. So we got to give big kudos to people who won multiple events or did things that, for the first time. So when we were talking about Cowboy Up, we talked about Caitlin Vaughn, winning 3. Well, she did another big thing, was winning with a Korean form in the traditional grands. She's been trying to do that for a while now, for the past year. And so congrats to her. She killed it, won the traditional grands with her choreo, and really just, doing an amazing job this year to achieve big things. So super proud of her. So make sure you guys give her a round of applause on that one. All right.
Congratulations. Yeah, choreo's tough. Choreo's tough to beat Japanese forms with. Like, you got to have a great one.
Yep. And she does. So the next big thing was, of course, Haley Glassman winning the other 3 women's grands. Okay. So traditional weapons grand, the CMX weapons grand, and the CMX forms grand. So there we go. Right there. All 3 of those, right? Another double winner, actually, for, I don't know, he might have done it the year before. I'm not sure, but I know he did it last year. The 30+ senior forms and senior weapons grand was Sam Diaz. So congrats to him. These guys were killing it. In the juniors, you know what? Amanda Duarte won the CMX. Well, she won the 13 under female overall forms grand by pretty much winning both, right? Won the CMX side and the traditional, and then she won the traditional weapons and then won the overall with her traditional weapons. So she
kind
won
of
both.
A theme with that this weekend too.
Yes, lots of that, right? So she did that. Sophia Pia won both of the weapons, the 14-17 female weapons grand and the forms grand. So big ups to her. And let's see, we also have John from help me with the last name, guys. I don't know. I have a lot in my head right now. From AmeriKick. He won the 14-17 weapons grand. And who am I missing now with the forms?
Loren.
Yes, John Burns. Thank you, Carolina. And forms. I was warming up, so I didn't get to see that one. Somebody help me on that one. Oh, that was Judah. Yeah, Judah won the forms grand for the 14-17. So amazing junior competitors, junior competition. Lots of big moments, first time moments. And you know what? I have to say one thing. We will get to that, Sue. I have to say one thing about this. A lot of people, like, one complaint that we have, like we said in the beginning, was that it's multiple rooms, right? But the one cool thing about it is that rotunda room is the best spot for the run-ups, okay, for the junior run-ups, because it's enough room for everybody to fit in there, and it's one ring, and it has the coolest, like, echoes and sound effects in there. Just everything just works out right, and it's just fun. And all the kids and the competitors are there, the parents are there, the teams are there, and they're yelling. And I tell you what, man, that vibe is always exciting. And I wish more people got to see that vibe in the finals. You know what I mean? The acoustics are great. That's just something that I think needs to be showcased more. So yeah, so that's always a fun one, man. So congrats to everyone who made it into the finals in the junior side. And let's see if I still have a couple more big time ones we haven't got to yet. Yes, Kyle Da Silva won the traditional men's forms grands. We hadn't even gotten to the fight yet. Let's focus. Let's get all the form stuff out, and then we'll go to that.
We're gonna cover it all.
We're gonna try to, and I'm doing a lot of it off of the top of my head.
I shouldn't overpromise.
What do you say?
I said I shouldn't overpromise. I'll do my best not to tell too many stories.
Don't overpromise. Let's talk about Esteban. Okay, so Esteban Tremblay, man, this guy.
The tournament of Esteban Tremblay.
That's very true there, Jackson. Kyle was made in the lab. It's ridiculous. It's crazy. So Esteban Tremblay won all 4 of the CMX weapons divisions for men, and he won all 3 of the CMX forms divisions for men. All right. And so by doing that, guess what? He pretty much could have done 2 demos and just get his money and go. So I think he just chose to do 1 and was like, all right. So he won 2 grands, knocked them all out. So that way there was no pressure for him in the finals and took all that money. So
it's crazy.
So it was pretty
if you look at it on paper and you go, yeah, Esteban Tremblay, he won the extreme forms and he won extreme weapons. And you go, oh, okay, check that out. He won musical and he won musical. You could say if he won any of those divisions, and you don't look at that and go, oh, okay. But if you would have said that anybody else would have won it, if you would have said Jake Presley, right? You would have went, okay, wow, really good. Okay. So it's not shocking. I feel what is a little crazy is that I feel we're pretty dang deep in championship talent at that level in that age right now, right? If you've got like, I don't know, 4 or 5 guys who could win any of those divisions, like that's pretty good. I think there's more, right? There's more than that right now. And to say that like one guy won all of those divisions, right? Like, holy crap, right? Somebody check them for steroids. Isn't that what we do with the cyclists, right? Anybody who's that far ahead of everybody. And then we're like, all right, well, you're the guy we're going to check for juicing, right? It doesn't help in sport martial arts forms, guys. Calm down. I'm not saying that, right? But I mean, it's really crazy. It's really crazy to think that like, oh, okay, he was just perfect. He was just perfect, but he wasn't actually perfect. So there's something else that we can lean on. But yeah, essentially that's what he did. He won all of it,
all of the CMX side, and he killed it, man. And I watched all of his forms on Friday. They're all awesome. They were excellent. And you know what? For me, it's like you're talking about his divisions. He's competing against his teammates like Dawson Holt and Ben Jones, who just keep killing it as well. So he had an awesome weekend. On the traditional side, this was where Dawson and Ben got back, and Ben won the non-bladed. Dawson won the bladed. Dawson won the traditional grands, and Ben broke his bow. So definitely, yeah, exactly. That is probably the coolest part about that is that he won the bladed and the non-bladed. So he does commas in the bladed, and he does the bow and non-bladed. So definitely 2 different types of skills in a lot of ways, you know, like a single weapon and then a double weapon. So pretty cool.
It's really hard. You're right. It's 2 completely different types of skill sets. It's very hard. And I can't really say which one's harder to do. They're just so different, right? It depends on the person, right? And it depends on what their skill set is and what they can do. And I try not to be just victim of like, let's just look at the top and see what happens. Okay, this is just all Esteban won, so we're just going to talk about Esteban, because then that doesn't tell you, this is what we talked about the last week or two, right? That doesn't tell the story. However, this one is a little different, and I feel like we should talk about this because he did win everything. And where my mind went right away is, okay, he won everything. Who else has done this? All right. And because there hasn't been this many divisions for a very extended period of time in our sport, right? If you go back, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, all these divisions weren't there. So,
Yes.
but who possibly could have? So first, who else has done this? What he did?
Well, I think
in one tournament.
I don't think there the thing that is different, you know, like you could say, okay, I've been to a tournament where Haley has won everything, right? I've seen all right. That is a good one.
Oh, look at that.
Rashad. There you go. Rashad is that one, you know. Like we've seen certain females dominate all the divisions, but Haley's both of her weapons are bladed weapons, right?
Right.
You're looking at someone like Caitlin Deschelle, same thing. Both of those are bladed weapons. And we're also talking about this is the first year that we've had, you know, a CMX Grand and a traditional Grand. So there's lots of different things there with that. But yeah, I would say Rashad, okay, there's one right there that is one that has done it and has been able to do it, right?
That one slipped my mind.
But even then, I'm not sure when it was that he did that, though, because I do know.
Did he win creative, musical, and extreme?
Right.
And for the forms.
Because one of the times I think Cameron was on stage with him, so he had a competitor to go against. The other thing is, you know, we didn't have any soft style competitors this weekend. So if we would have, he still would have had to competed in the finals, right? I think one of the things, because we didn't, it made it even more of a thing to talk about, which is good and bad, because you know what? He accomplished the same thing no matter what, right? If he did have to go in there and compete against the soft style competitor, he still accomplished the same thing, you know? So
I think it is something to be talked about. I think it is a really big deal, you know, and you know, I love the NBA. So when Russell Westbrook won, or when he averaged a triple-double for a season, people were like, oh my goodness, this really happened? Last time that happened was like in the 60s with Oscar Robertson. And like, are you kidding me? Right? Like that's not a real thing. Like that's not possible. I think Oscar Robertson was the 60s. Maybe I'm wrong. But anyway, so like, okay, that was when they were averaging like so many more possessions a game, so it was easier to do. And now this guy does it and he wins the MVP. Well, the next year he does it and they're like, all right, little fatigue, calm down now. All right, you already did that thing. And then he did it another year. So he did it 3 years in a row. And then it hasn't been done since. And I felt bad for the guy. And I'm like, why are we just pretending like this didn't just happen again? And it didn't just happen again. What if this does happen again? What if it's somebody else? You know?
Right.
What if it is Dawson Holt who goes out and then he does this? You know?
Yeah.
You know?
I think the biggest thing is really what I was really talking about was there's not too many competitors that, kind of like what Brett said, is winning bladed and non-bladed, right? There's not many competitors that do both of that, right? Who's someone else that did well at two of those different weapons? You know, that's the hard thing to really think about.
I don't know how you call it bladed and non-bladed, but I think
if there were some that do what two weapons, usually they're either both wooden or both non-bladed or both bladed, right? So because like you look at like Sammy and Haley, she has the chucks, but she also does traditional bow, right? So she could potentially do a CMX bow, right? Haley does the sword and the commas, both are bladed, right? You know, you're looking at other people. I mean, I've seen one person that I think has the ability to do it. He's in the senior divisions now. That's Tim Conkle, because he can do any weapon. I've seen him do pretty much any weapon. Right now he's currently doing flying commas and regular commas, but you know, I know he knows how to do nunchucks as well as pretty much any weapon, because like he says, you need to know how to do all of these 5 weapons, so that way you can create an awesome demo for your school, which is true.
That's crazy.
Yes, there we go. And again, I'm thinking just adults right now, but yes, thank you. The Molinas do both. And so that these are the next ones to kind of be in that position in the future, right? And hopefully they stick with that.
Yeah, and that's good that, you know, there's going to be more, but a lot of times what happens is once they get to the adults, it's like, okay, this is my division now. Right. We did
one time. I don't know if he won it with this. The person I'm thinking of. Do you remember when Matt put blades at the end of his chucks? He did that so that way
I do remember that.
So, but I don't know if he won with that. He might have, but that might have been, the one shot that someone has done that before. So,
well, here, what would you classify this as, Jeff? What about John Sue? What's the whip chain? Is that bladed?
But that's a whole different thing. So honestly, for him,
I don't know. But then he had a really cool chucks for him, man.
Oh yeah. But what I'm saying is, John would have still won the same amount of divisions because he would have won the soft style weapons and then all of the other weapons. Yeah. Do you get what I'm saying?
I do get
so
what
he's still probably 1-7, but he's going to do it more on the traditional side because he could go and win Korean soft style. Wow. Maybe even he could probably learn.
Imagine if John Sue was competing today.
Japanese. Yeah.
Imagine if John Sue was 22 years old right now.
Right.
he'd be a busy guy, Right. Okay, so over the history of our sport, who are some of the people, like I mentioned, John Sue, right? Who potentially could have done this? I mean, Caitlin Deschelle, but she's got to have 2 weapons. But maybe let's take the bladed and non-bladed out for a moment. Who could really win all of that?
Well, I mean, if you take the bladed, non-bladed out, then that's been done. So that's what I'm saying. Yeah. So I mean, like you're looking at Haley's done that, Caitlin's done that. I believe at a tournament, probably Mackenzie has done that. Sammy has done that.
Because then it does. Yeah, you're right. It does get like that.
Yeah. So there's a lot more, Mark has done that, at certain events, so Canizzato, so you have that, that part. So, I mean,
Mark Canizzato should have done nunchucks. That would have been cool. Then he really could have done it because when he did 2 weapons, he went from commas to sword, which I was like, dude, don't pick up the sword. You're good, but it's like, you're good in winning, but it's like, you're too talented. Right. And we're sitting here watching you win and then still like, this is so weird that I'm watching you win and you're great, but I know that you're better.
Okay.
Because what you did like a couple of years ago was somehow better than what I'm looking at. Like it was weird watching him with the sword, right? He's a comic.
Oh, I get that. Yeah, I felt that way. I mean, it was cool that he did it and he challenged himself to do it. I thought it was cool.
I think the mohawk was the cool part, but that's a whole other thing. Did you remember that? It was like a 2-foot mohawk on top of his head.
Yeah, I do remember that. There's got to be some other ones. I know we're probably like forgetting some. But there was a lot of talented people. And even I'm trying to think on the NBL side, because honestly, the NBL side, there was people that were doing like 14 all the time, but it's hard to see that as in the adults, you didn't see it as much once they got rid of all the, once they got all that out of their system, the juniors and the adults, it was like, all right, let's zone in on something. Right. But a lot of people, if you are a bladed competitor, you stick to the blades, it's usually like you go from sword to comma or comma to sword. It's kind of interesting, or chucks to bow. When really for me, it's the other way. I go comma and chuck. So I do both of those. Right. So I don't know. I think to me, the sword and the bow are more similar than the other two, but whatever. It is what it is.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's kind of you know what? Let's go back. Let's go way back. Let's go back 30 years. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Richard Brandon. I know it's soft style.
Yes.
He had a bow and he had swords.
Yeah. I've seen him do 3-sectional staff. I've seen him do a lot of weapons. Same with me.
He actually, why couldn't they actually could have won more? Because they can do creative, musical, and extreme and soft doing the same form. They actually, I hope I'm not giving anybody any ideas, but they actually have a pretty good advantage. If you do that, you actually can win it all. See, Austin Jorgensen. Is this what Jackson's saying? Yeah.
Yeah. So he
I
did that. I
like
mean,
the monkey
honestly,
staff and the drunken sword, though. I think he
Ming
was
Ming
more
Lu,
talented.
yeah,
That
Ming
wasn't
Lu
his best.
had sword, had bow, had 3 sectional shaft. You know, a
Oh
lot of
yeah,
these
she was.
guys could do it all. Singal has done it all, you
Oh
know,
yeah.
and him compete many times in the musical division as well as the soft style division or the Chinese division, you know. So yeah, definitely could do it all. So this is a cool topic to think about. Yeah, I mean, lots to think about. But again, one more time, congrats to Esteban on all your wins. So if there's
Way
some
to go.
other forms
Let's celebrate
champions that
greatness. Way to go.
if there's some other forms champions that we didn't shout out to, put them in the comments and we'll do that, guys, as far as who won the overall grands and stuff. Also, Cameron Klaus and Kaio won the traditional team forms and won that overall over the Amerikick team. So great job to them. Let's get into the fighting, and then we'll kind of talk about some of the things that we can work on. So big fighting moments. Again, let's talk about the winners. Katarina, we talked before, man, like she swept it, okay? Won the overall grand championship. And then she won the open weight, which, man, the open weight division, there wasn't an easy fight in any of that. Good God. That was
right.
just neat, right? It's just like, okay, do you want your first round fight was Yamina versus Katana, right? Like that's the first one.
I saw that one.
And like, geez, all right. Like you're just seeing just so much craziness in the first round, but a lot of
what a
amazing
great way to start off the division. You know, when you're like,
right,
Yamina, Katana, first up. Because sometimes when it's like, all right, you know, it's Yamina and, you know, I don't know.
Say it. Cheeseburger.
What? Stephanie. Yeah, basic cheeseburger. I'm sorry. Cheeseburger. You go, all right, well, kind of watching Yamina fight a little bit. And that's where you're kind of looking at this division, but you're like, oh, Yamina's, and you don't even turn your whole body. You just kind of look over your shoulder and you're like, oh yeah, pretty good. Pretty good. We've all done it. Where we're like, we're wanting to, you know, watch a few things at one time. You're standing by the ring, but you're like, I already know what's going to happen, so I'll just look over my shoulder. But then when you draw Katana and Yamina, you're like, never mind. Everybody get over here. Come on. Let's go. There we go. Wherever you thought you were going, this is where you're at right now. Right?
Right. So
Katana looked good too.
Katarina had a great job. You know, the final four was Peyton versus Kamehameha, Peyton Fender. And Peyton ended up winning that. Great fight. And then Katarina fought Karina from Straight Up. So another great fight. And then Katarina and Peyton. You know what? Like, of course, you know, at that point, you know, my teammate, I'm cheering on Peyton. Peyton fought great this weekend, won her division, made it all the way to the finals of the open weight, just really is stepping it up, right? And, you know, there were some calls there that were kind of interesting. But at the same time, you know what? Like, Katarina just she knows how to play her game, and she's doing a great job. And you know what? She was using her blitz and her hands very well as well this week. So congrats to her. She is, literally like taken to a whole nother level just in the past, what is it, 2 years?
Mm-hmm.
Year and 3 months since she's moved up, maybe.
Yeah.
It's crazy, right? So
I mean, when she first came out, it was a little bit of a shock, like, whoa, okay, all right, well, I guess we got this to focus on. And then it was like, okay, you're not supposed to get that much better, right? Well, and that's where some people are like, will you just slow down and wait for the rest of everybody else to catch up? And she's not.
Yeah, and she's an awesome person too, man. Has the best attitude, is so cool to all the other competitors.
Yeah.
So You know, I mean, you couldn't ask for a nicer person. So, and she just, yeah. And like Will said, she works hard. So congrats to her. There's a lot of amazing, amazing fights. Yeah, humble beast. She is definitely a humble beast. I'm trying to think some of the ones that I thought, I mean, I do think
I was doing the same thing as you,
what
Jeff.
you were
I was
watching.
rooting on. I was rooting for Peyton too. Not that I don't like, Katarina, I do, but Peyton's part of the show,
Right. That's right.
You're welcome, Katarina. So I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be a tough match. You're gonna have to fight, like you're gonna have the fight of your life,
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about it, and there's a few things that I'm thinking like, oh man, if she could she, and that just means it's like Peyton is consistently leveled up and leveled up and leveled up, right? Got to be proud of her, right? Like look at all these women here, right? With all this talent now, she's there fighting in the final. Got to feel pretty damn good about that, right? So, but you don't just want to be, in the game. You want to win the game, right? So she's done a good job. She's beaten people. Here's how you know you're a great fighter, right? And she's getting there, right? And this is not just this is everybody, men, women, teens, anyone. And we all do this, and somehow subconsciously we do this where we look at the fighters we're supposed to beat, and we do that. And then there's the fighter that, like, say you're relative, you've been around for a couple of years, but you're fighting Kevin Walker. You're not supposed to beat Kevin Walker.
Right.
And so you go out there and you fight really well, but Kevin beats you by 2. And you go say that, and you're like, man, what happened? You're not fighting? Kevin Walker beat me 6-4. No one's going to be that upset with you. And sometimes they accept that. And you go, damn, man, you still did a really good job, man. What are you going to do? It's Kevin Walker. What are you going to do? Right? And no one's going to be mad at you. Now, I'll tell you this. If Mike Conroy's your coach, he'll be mad at you. He don't give a damn who they are. Right? Which is great. Right? You got to appreciate, you got to have people like that in your life. You got to have people like that, not necessarily ringside, but in your life. Right.
Yeah.
And so when you have that, then you just consistently do start to level up. Right. Because I'll say this. I think if Ross Levine didn't have Jody Tension and Mike Conroy in his life at the exact same time and in that kind of involvement, maybe he could have too. Because at that time when he just became an adult, like he was everyone's friend to a certain degree. Right. Everybody loved Ross Levine. Ross Levine loved everybody else. And he was great and everybody loved him. He was like the people's champ. He was like the fighter who was on a Forms team. All right. And everybody loved it. And then, when you get a guy who you have a lot of time with in Jody Tension and who is your coach, like Mike Conroy, no, he'll change your mentality to a certain degree. And look at what turned out. Turned out to be one of the greatest fighters in the history of the sport.
Yep. Awesome. All right. So talking about the men's side, man, the open weight division was fantastic. It was on stage. It started at 3. I was supposed to start my 30 plus forms at 5. I knew that wasn't going to happen. Okay. So I just kind of sat back and relaxed on that one for a while, but lots of great fight. I don't know the exact number. So many, man, it was just the top 8 was a different top 8. There was people from all kinds of different teams, but in the top 4, you have 3 from straight up. You have the men's team from straight up. You got Kevin Walker, you got Bailey Murphy, and you got Brandon Ballou. And that 4th one was Enrique Latona. And really, in a lot of ways, he was one of the most consistent fighters of the weekend in the final for everything, So was just really cool to see just those guys all step up. To me, the big moment, the fight that I watched and just stood out was the fight to get there to the final, and that was Kevin Walker versus Sandro Peters. Yo, this was crazy. Did you see this online? Did you watch this one?
No, I had to go back and watch pieces of it. But it seemed like
So
here's what it seemed like people really didn't know how to deal with Sandro right away.
no.
So, and like it's hard. It's like when you get a different fighter, when sometimes we're just so used to certain movements and we're used to certain timing and we're used to certain spacing and we're used to certain techniques. And when you get a guy who can just do something just a tiny bit different, it will mess with you. And you're like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be looking at right now. Right. And it'll mess with you. Right. Even if you're a great. Right. But it takes a great. Kevin Walker's great. Right. It takes a great to go, all right, well, I'm still going to find a way to win. But go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And he did. And like the last 3 or 4 techniques were all step-ins. And it was just insane. Just boom, boom, boom. Like, bro, like this dude just looked like a machine, right? And it was crazy. It was awesome to see. And man, he had a great just fighting and beating high-level people. So that was one of the best fights. Go and check that out. Sandro versus Kevin Walker in the open weight. Now they fought again later on, and we'll talk to that too. Another good one was one of our from the main gang, Angel Diaz versus Tyreek Saint. This was an awesome fight. Angel was on his game, and you know what? Like it went all the way down to the end, like last second or maybe even overtime. I was about to go up as well, and it was just nuts, man. But so congrats to both those guys. So that final 4 for that ended up being
wait. I want to touch on that fight.
Okay.
Because that fight is a lot like what I just mentioned earlier.
Yes.
Like,
right.
Look at that.
Right.
Angel is a great fighter. Okay. Tyreek really right now is better. So nobody's going to be upset with Angel if he doesn't beat Tyreek. But here's what I'm going to say. Right. And he listens. So it's all right. Angel is a much better kicker than what he's doing right now. He's that much better. I think if Angel Diaz kicks to his best ability, he'll be one of the best kickers in the world. I believe that with full confidence. And that's hard. And sometimes what you got to do is go, if I was fighting me and I wanted to score on me, what would I want that guy to do? Like if Tyreek, wants you to do a certain thing and you do that intentionally, like not pressure him with that leg, well, why would you do that? If you're going to do the thing he wants you to do, that's just as an example. Right.
Right.
So, but I just think he's a really good fighter. I think he's a much better kicker than what he's doing right now. And he's just going to get better. He's going to get better, Angel. He's going to get better.
Yep. He's going to, he keeps getting better every time. And so it's exciting to see him having great fights this year. So, all right. Oh, teams. All right. So team fighting again, right after the open weight, we went to teams and man, they were just stacked team fighting. And you know what? Mike Conroy's in the building, man. And so he's going to put a team that makes it to the finals. And he, you know what, it's a big unit there with those guys. You got 3. I mean, talk about a team that has 3 of the best coaches. Like that doesn't make sense. Like, wait, you got Damian, you got Sam and Mike all in the same, like good Lord. But you know what? You put Mike in the chair, you put Coach Conroy in the chair. You have a team with Brayon, Luis, Enrique, and now Sandro. And it was great. And you know what? Sandro said, I'm going to get you back, Kevin. And he did. And he was a big factor in that fight there. And you know what? They pulled it out and won. Diamond G3 beat Straight Up to get to the finals. And I believe Paul Mitchell beat Legend to get to the finals, which again, Legend, we've talked plenty of times, has a great team as well with Coca, Oscar Garcia, and Christian. So
if you want to go back and hear a great interview, go back and listen to that interview we had with Tony Hamsani. Right, that was a great show.
Yeah, that was a great show. So we get to and then on the other side for the the fighting, the lightweight came down to Tyreek Saint and Enrique Latona, and the heavyweight came down to Devin Hopper versus Cam Dawson. All right, so Cam pulled out that win for that over Devin, and Enrique won the lightweight grand over Tyreek Saint. This was his second year in a row winning that. Actually, I believe his second year in a row winning that. Yeah, because the year before was Jack. So yeah, I was thinking I didn't want to mess up, and it was actually 3. But so,
right.
That was
the year before it was like everybody, like it was like 5 different winners.
Well, it's kind of the same way with this. I mean, there's a bunch of different winners. So, anyways, we'll get to that as well. So, congrats to those guys for winning the different grands. Okay, so Cam and Enrique. Team fighting, man. We got JPM versus Diamond G3, and again, man, you know what? Conroy just proven to be one of the best. Of course, fighting coaches, but team fighting coaches of all time. You got to say that. I mean, if you want to individually, the best team fighting coach. I mean, in my opinion, he's the best team fighting coach there is. But I mean, how many different teams has anyone won with that many different teams? I don't think so.
Yeah, and I think that's not the thing though, right? Because if you would have given, like, name another great team fighting coach. If you would have taken Richard Plowden, if you would have put him there and say, if you would have said, okay, he won. All right, that's great. But let's just even take this to be, he doesn't even have a team right now. But let's say Alex Reyes was the coach of that team and they won. You'd be like, oh, okay, it was pretty good. But I think the real telling point of are they a great team fighting coach is you look at the fighter. Do they fight different during that time?
Right.
And when Mike's got you, you do fight a little bit different, right? Like I used to look at a guy like Chris Cargiulo, right? Like when Mike was behind him, it was like all of a sudden this guy turned into like the Hulk who could kick really well. And you were like, what did they make you from? Like, what is this? Right? And then he'd go in his division, and if Mike wasn't behind him, like it wouldn't be the same. Like, my gosh. He has that much of an impact on you, and he does have that much of an impact on people in a great way.
Correct. So amazing job, amazing fight. So congrats to Diamond G3 and all those guys put together that machine that is going on, right? Yeah, you're right, Jackson. Definitely. I mean, Damon has done an amazing job and really has been very consistent the past year, with this team. So you're right. Definitely.
Well, this is what's interesting though, is the matchups. I don't put too much stock into like, they got the right matchups unless there's really like a lopsided one where it's like, how did we mess that up? Because on one tournament, you could get the exact matchups in the exact order and you could just kill it. And in the very next tournament, get that exact same matchups. And then the fighter's still got to fight. Right. And if you could lose first round, you could all just get blown out. The fighters have to do the fighting. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't put that much stock into matchup strategies, although it big time matters. Right. Like I've said on the show, like when we fought the All-Stars, I never fought Robbie. It wasn't I never fight Ray, although that wasn't a great matchup. Right.
Right.
But there was no really good idea for me to fight Robbie, right? So it was always somebody like, Hamid, Greg Betlock, anybody else, right? Not me. I don't get the fight.
Yeah, what I remember, honestly, at the end of this was, okay, so Cam is going to be the last fighter in this.
Yeah,
and honestly, on the side, you could have gone either way with who to fight with him because you had Luis as the alternate. And you had Brayan. And, talking to coach about that as well, he said, yeah, I mean, I could have put either one, but, we said we were sticking with Brayan because the thing is, Luis fights Cameron great, and the dude he's not afraid, So he's going to step in and blitz on him. So And they have some amazing fights. If you guys go and watch any fights on YouTube or stream or anywhere, those are some awesome fights to watch. Is Cam Dawson versus Luis Nunes. But so Diamond G3 pulled it out for the win. And then we got the open weight, right? So Bailey defeats Brandon, very handily. Those guys, they know each other very well. And then you got Kevin, who, man, Kevin is just fighting just his heart out right now, man. This dude is really coming into his prime right now, and fighting every division as well, fighting the 30 and up, fighting the teams, fighting the open weight, fighting the 18+ division, and he beat Enrique to move on. And man, did you watch this fight with Kevin and Bailey?
Yeah, I think he's looking at it a little bit right now, Jeff, like it's Second Life. Do you remember when he was on a couple weeks ago and he was like, I kind of talked about maybe not doing it anymore, maybe phasing out.
Yep, exactly.
And I think he's looking at it like this is chapter 2,
Yep.
If you want to talk about the Bible, this is New Testament. This is New Testament, Kevin Walker. All right. That was Old Testament, Kevin Walker before. This is New Testament.
Yo, I'm telling you, man, he looked awesome. Go back and watch that fight, because that literally came down to a last-second defensive sidekick that finished it. They were tied, and it was like, okay, Bailey hit it, and then time ran out. And I don't remember if it was 6-4 or like 7-5. I think it was 7-5. And man, just go back and watch this, because that's something else that Kevin said. Right. If you want to see teammates, guys who train together, fight hard, like we're not going to go in there and just phone it in and just be a boring match. No, we're gonna fight hard, and they did. It was competitive, back and forth, and you know what? Bailey just showed why he's Bailey. And there was a point in that fight that I thought, okay, they're keeping it close, but Bailey's going to pull away, and he's showing why he's that dude right now. And then you know what? Kevin came back. And I don't know, man. I'm just proud of those guys being great leaders right now for the sport. And, proud of Kevin for, like you said, man, just having that next level, that Second Life, really.
Well, look at where he came from in this previous team, right?
Right.
I mean, he had to fight Jack freaking Felton.
Correct.
And Ray don't care who you are. He's not losing anything, right?
No.
You kidding me? Like Ray could be 54, right? And if he's fighting you, he's going to win. He's Raymond freaking Daniels. And so if this is your culture for years, or the team that you're a part of, that you're just kind of around, that's just what's going to happen. It doesn't matter if they're teammates, right? And so we like that. That's a breath of fresh air. Sometimes you get teammates and you're like, all right, it's okay. I guess we're just going through the motions. And it really bothered me seeing that a lot. I remember in the old format, I don't know, 20 years ago or so, when it was like you'd have the lightweight grand, you'd have the middleweight grand, you'd have the heavyweight grand, and then you'd have the 30 over winner. And it's like, all right, who are we going to get? We got to get it down to, and the middleweight winner would have to fight would have to fight the 40 plus. And I remember like Elias Lemon, if he won the middleweight, he'd have to fight Kevin Thompson. And they would just decide, all right, well, we're just going to have Elias move on. So we're just going to kind of stage this thing. I'm not breaking any news to anybody.
Right.
And I think that was because they were both on JPM. That was like, we really doing this, But then, you look over the last few years and you've seen some great fights with teammates. Like I remember, Ross Levine and Avery Plowden fighting each other for the diamond ring. That was a cool one.
That was a great fight.
But anyway, I'm rambling. I'm sorry.
It's all good, man. No, like overall, man, just amazing fight, amazing moment. Thank you, Anthony, for being a huge part of this. And also thank you to Female Fighters Matter, Maggie, just putting the money out there and really just letting us see what amazing talent we have in this sport. So that was awesome. On the other end, we got also virtual fight tour. Wanted to do another, fight at the end. So what happened was Devin decided, all right, I'm going to do the extra fight. Cam didn't want to. I don't know anything about that. I just know, hey, Devin's going to do the fight against Enrique. So they just called it not really the last man standing, but they called it a set match. So we got to see, to finish the show, a 3-round set match between Devin Hopper and Enrique Latona. And again, a great fight that came down to, I think it was a 2-point match. And you know what? Devin pulled it out. So one consistent thing we can say, again, Enrique Latona fought in every type of fight that there was. Team, the open weight, the grands, and the virtual fight tour set fight. So this dude was fighting.
There's some great things about both of those fighters that I really like. I have been pretty vocal about what I didn't like about the Latonas as a whole. And I'm going to tell you, he hasn't spent that much time on the ground. He spent a lot less time on the ground. All right. He's done a very good job. Right. So it's like, all right, well, that doesn't bother me so much. It's because it's not there to bother you. But if you look at him, he doesn't fight with the same speed for everything all the time. His change of pace and speed is really good, where he can go from just, lifting his leg, aiming it, moving at a slower pace, and then just boom, just taking off. He's saying it right as you typed it right as I'm saying it. Yes. How he can go from there to just extremely taking off very fast, like you're shooting right out of a cannon. That's got to make Conroy pretty happy. That's the one thing I know he would like, But on the other hand, I look at Devin Hopper. I mentioned earlier, I think, Angel could be a lot better at this. Yeah. I think Devin Hopper is one of the more versatile fighters that there is. He could fight super lightweights to super heavyweights and beat them all, be competitive with them all. I think one thing he can do a lot better. I think he's better at this than what he's doing. I think he can get lower on his rear hand blitz than he does. And I've seen him get really low. Like one of the people that I think gets the lowest right now is Christian Rivas, right? That guy, if you watch him, he gets crazy low. It's hard to defend because you can't really get under it, right? You have to, if you're really defending that, you need to not be there, or you need a whole different angle altogether, because you can't beat it with a straight line technique because he's already lower than you. I think Devin could get just as low. I really do. Right. I think if he adds more of that to his game, it's going to be really hard to stop him because he's already strong. He's already fast. He's got all the moves. If he can get that low as well, how do you beat that guy?
Right. True. All right. So the finals was a great finals. Lots of awesome stuff, man. Let's get into a couple things because we already at an hour, and some of the different issues. We always talk about judging after every tournament, right? That was the joke that Carlos used to say on CTE. Okay. Oh, wait, we have judges issues again in our sport. Wait, what? We got some rules issues in our sport. Wait, what? But a big one of the weekend.
You like my shirt? I'm wearing a CTE shirt.
A big one that started off the weekend was the age rules, right? So we've been wondering, we had last year I guess last year, for this year, the new rule was that 17-year-olds, this was how people that were 17 could move up to the adults early in the forms and weapons divisions, right? So we had that happen. Maddie Kenway, who's been, a great competitor as a junior. I think the last time we saw her was 2 years ago at DC at Capital Classics. She's been doing well in the junior circuit and moving up into the doing well in the junior circuit on the traditional karate side. And so she moved up and won the traditional challenge for the women. But here's the thing. So the thing is, what it wasn't that if you were 17, it was if you were turning 18 in the same year. Okay. Which really was the rule that we used to have in the NBL. If you were turning 18 that year, you can move up, but you could not move up if you were 16 or, you weren't turning, you were staying 17 that whole year.
It was December 30th.
Right.
Yes. That year you can still move up.
Exactly.
Which is
so
whatever the rule is, as long as it's in black and white, this is the rule. Well,
and honestly, like looking at it, so I believe like she turned 17 in March. So that didn't really work out, right? There's a lot of different things. There's a lot of different things that people have said on one way or the other. Some have said that the rule book that the coordinators had or the arbitrator had said something different than what was online. That might have been, I don't know exactly. I in this situation, I didn't get very heavily involved, I'm be honest. So the other thing was that why wasn't this pointed out before, right? Before the division started. That way she could go into the 16-17, right? The other thing is in there, it says if there's a rule that is broken, but like you can't arbitrate after it's already been decided. Like the division was over, it was arbitrated after she won, not while the division was going on. So it's supposed to say that that is void. The arbitration is void. The problem in this case, even if that happened, okay, so we're just going to void this whole division. But hey, you can't compete in the grands anymore because you weren't supposed to, and you can't compete tomorrow in the Japanese. So either way, I don't think we were going to get to see Maddie in the finals, right? And yes, I agree, Richard. When I read it as well, it was way too long. Yes, I agree. It's the one. It has way too much meat to it. Keep it really. It was not an easy read. The whole part that says until you're turning 18 was almost at the end of the rule. Okay, when that should have been the first thing. So I think the way it needs to be written needs to be better. Okay.
How about this? Could you articulate right now how it needs to be written? If you were to just say it, what would it sound like?
17-year-olds that are turning 18 in the competition year are allowed to move up to 18. I mean, that's simple. Yeah. But I think there's some rules things as far as when it goes to points and stuff. Because in the past, you couldn't move up until you actually turned 18. But there was a lot of issues with that too, because it's like, okay, so why am I going to go to the first two tournaments and compete at 17 and then not be able to move up till then? And then I just wasted 3 tournaments for my points, right? That's what a lot of people are saying. So
for the points, yes.
Right. The other thing is, yes, the registration. So that's something that now you can always cheat it. You can manually, I don't know, or manually add it.
Oh yeah, you can.
So I mean, this shouldn't have been really an issue online. Juventex probably could have caught it, but again, I don't know on that part. But I just feel like there's a lot of ways that we could have caught this before, and it should have been. This is why rules and things need to be looked at ahead of time, read before. And, that was something that was discussed. I went that morning to the rules meeting, to the judges meeting, and you know what? Like, no one wants to read the rules or wants to remind people or ask, hey, is there anything anyone has a question about before we start this division? Is there something all right, let me look at everyone's uniform. Are your uniforms good? Is there any rule, especially in creating
that, and say, is there any rule that anybody has any question with? Everybody can still say no, because I understand it this way, so I don't have a question. Yeah,
that's true.
You know what I mean?
True.
So,
but you know what? Is everyone 17? I mean, is everyone 17 or 18? Moving up.
And it's not up to that center referee to go through all of the details.
I'm going to tell you that too.
That's not right. Because how long would every division go? Oh my goodness.
Not really, Alex. It doesn't take long. It doesn't really take long. That's why Kappa really pushed to have, at every ring, the shortened list, and then Battle of Atlanta did that as well, and they had that at their tournament. We're going to get into another rule that we've been talking about since the last, I don't know, probably since we started this. Judges need to stop talking to each other during forums, all right?
Yeah.
And so judges, you know who you are. And honestly, what makes me mad, I'm doing my form and I'm seeing a judge talk the whole time, having a full-on conversation in the finals, and I'm watching this same judge do this the whole time to another judge next to him, watching people go, like, come on. And that was the finals. There's also, there's just so many things on that. So I want to get to that in a second. But one of the things that I noticed about, I think there's too many things in NASCA that the center ref is in charge of. You know what? Like, why does the center ref have to be involved with the coordinating of the ring, the setting, the making sure the setting up of the brackets, if the time was started the correct time and all this and that? Like, man, that is a lot. Like, that is so much. It's like, to me, I come from NASCA, but when I was really involved in NBL, the scorekeepers, the head scorekeeper was in charge of the scorekeeping things, right? Uh-huh. The coordinator was in charge of the coordination of the bracket, and the judges judged, and that's what it was, Then the arbitrator was brought up for any specific things. It was clear cut. Now it's just like this whole thing when you're putting a lot on that center to do. One of the rules that was still not really like, okay, by the end of the meeting, there was a clarification that, okay, the time for competitors starts when for a form starts when they step on the mat. Yeah. But that was almost never the case over the weekend. Now, maybe it happened in the traditional ones, which is usually where there's an issue. But I saw several times in open forums where certain competitors were already on the mat and the time hadn't started yet and until they bowed. So that's got to be really clear. In the rule, from everything they were telling us during the meeting, was when you step on the mat, the time starts. Not when you step on the mat and then bow. Okay. So there's that has to be clarified, and also
and that's not even anything that has changed over the years. That's pretty much been the case since that rule's ever even been in place. That's never changed.
I don't understand why certain competitors, especially in open forums, just stand in the mat and then wait for their music to go. I don't really get it. So, but okay. But there's high level competitors right now that win a lot of grand championships that do this. So I don't know. All right. So there's that. Let's get back to the judges talking.
Let's do that.
Oh my God, guys, why? One, it's rude. Stop talking while I'm trying to do something, shut up. You know what? Another thing is, hey, don't record while you're judging. I've heard some people doing that.
What did you say?
Some people told me they saw on the live stream some judges like recording like the performances on their phone. So I didn't see that with
going like this. This is going like this.
Yeah.
What in the wild world of sports? Oh my gosh.
Jackson, yes, on stage.
Interesting point.
Yes, but
read it out loud, Jeff.
You haven't met you haven't entered the mat yet. I do that as well. I walk outside off of the mat, purposely, and then walk on it. But as soon as I walk on it, that time is supposed to go on the rules. So what Jack's saying, the more time you can kill before the next person comes up, the more the judge will forget about them. Taking your sweet time on stage is strategy. At least it was for me. Okay. That's interesting.
I don't totally disagree with that.
I don't totally disagree. That for me, it wasn't that's never been the strategy for me. The reason why I do that is so that way I have their attention. Not really about forgetting about the other person. It's more about having their attention, and then whatever I want them to anticipate what I'm going to do next, because who knows? I may break a board over my head. I may break a bottle. Who knows? I mean, I don't know. Nothing too crazy, but yeah. But yeah, the issue really is for the Japanese competitors who have these forms that are really long. And there's a difference in the traditional challenge rules where it's like 4 minutes. And then in the regular rules, yes, Thomas, the regular rules, 3 minutes. So there's that. Listen, I feel like last year, actually, during this same tournament was where I had a big issue and I pushed about judges not talking, as it happened many times during my divisions and other divisions. And so many different people came to me saying, hey, watch this. This needs to be talked about. Can you talk about it on your show? I'm like, have you not listened to our show? We talk about it every time. But yeah.
That was funny, Reed.
I love that. Boom.
Well, let's talk about the judges talking. Let's, because I got stuff to say. So let's look at that. And I don't know, maybe it's the old man in me now. I try to see things on both sides. I don't think it's right, but let's look at that. Okay. So we're asking a judge to be there all day. And now they're there all night, and then they're all dressed up, and they want to. You don't want to get all dressed up and not say nothing, right? So I get that. You're in your social environment. You're excited. You're highlighted-ish spot. However,
yeah, but you do that.
I know. Wait, Jeff, I'm about to advocate for you. However, we really should have a system of checks and balances for officials as well, right? So we should have this to where we can go, all right, well, you're not going to judge in the finals this rest of this year, right? And we need to really look at that. Let's get some new blood up there. I think people would like it. I'm not saying only like, all right, you're retired, like you're out of here, because we don't need to do that. However, I do feel like promoters shouldn't be judges. It's just let's let them promote. Let's let judges judge and let promoters promote. So,
and you know what? I'm going to tell you what. All right, so that's a good one there, Brett. Is there's a lot of time in between the divisions. You can get your talking in then. The other thing is, you know what? If there's an issue, if there's not availability for the promoters to not be judging, there shouldn't be a ring would have 2 world promoters in the ring. You know what I mean? Like at least not make 2, because that's where a lot of times you see similarities happen. And I think that's something that needs to stop. At least that's something that I think we can solve, right? Let's say, okay, we'll put the promoter of this one as the center, and then we'll have 2 of our NASCA certified judges here. And we'll put the promoter of this here. We'll have 2 of our, and that's where it is, where it needs to happen.
Let's look at it like this. Look at it like John Sharkey. Okay. He doesn't do a lot of judging, does he?
He doesn't judge anymore. Nope.
He doesn't judge. And you know what? I kind of like the way that he's kind of approached what he does. As he's approached it, and he's like, you know what? Yep. I host this big thing. Every final decision ends with me, but I've put a good team of people around me, Hunter Lyons, right? And he put a really good group of people around him to where he doesn't have to do all those things. He's not looked upon to do that, right? And there's other promoters like that do that. So I think if you do have that, let's not have Dennis Brown be your referee. And I like Dennis Brown, right? I'm not saying he's a bad referee. Nothing to say about that whatsoever. You're the promoter of the U.S. Capitol Classics. Let's let that be what you do. Please come here, help us run this one so that we all do it together, right?
Exactly. Yep.
And then, I just don't think we need to do that.
No, I agree.
And then when you get other judges talking, yeah, it looks bad. It looks like you're conspiring. You may just be saying, man, I can't wait to have a drink tonight. This is going to be good. You and me, we're going to go have something. All right. No, you don't drink. Okay. No big deal. It doesn't look like that.
But even then, that's not what you're there for.
Exactly.
Have some freaking respect for the competitors and shut up and judge and do your job.
Because your conversation was where your head was at in the game of where you were judging, that makes it worse.
Right.
So there shouldn't be any talking.
Yeah, let them rest. But again, guys, like quit the talk. If you have a question or something, really that should happen after their form. If there was something that needed, was there a rule thing? Hold on, this is what's going on. Yeah. Or at the end of it, or mark it down and say, all right, let's address this once the division's done. We would have plenty of times like that. All right, I need to stop because I saw 7 Kias in traditional challenge. There's supposed to be only 6, right? I saw this. Did you guys see that? What is the rule on this? Okay, right. But not while people are performing and such, or I've seen some judges get up in the middle of performances. So, so there just needs to be some things that, like in the finals, there were a couple of judges that got up.
Just took a walk?
Maybe they thought, just for a second to say congrats to somebody and then come sit down. Well, the division already started. So, yeah, you need to sit down. So I don't know, maybe they thought it was a demo or what, but no, it was actually, this is just all this weekend. Crazy. Okay. So anyways, man, I just get myself in trouble about all the stuff I say, but it's okay. What am I going to do? Anyways, judges issues we can solve. So that's one, guys. Let's really push that. And how do you solve it? Email NASCA, email Larry, email these guys. And don't just make it us two saying this and making us look crazy because y'all are two the only ones that complain about that. Well, no, I don't think so. That's not it. A couple, did you see any judging that maybe we need some shout outs for? Let's do that. Some judge shout out because we don't get that. We don't get to do that enough. Shout out your favorite judges from the weekend or maybe just your favorite judges, guys. Let's do that. One of the things to finish their well, I know you told me about that one. That's a crazy one. He's saying he's tired of seeing competitors doing their entire kata full out on the side of the ring while there's an active person competing. I'm not sure what. Yeah, that I haven't seen that. But I think I know what he's talking. I mean, I think there's just a lot of kids that imitate each other, right, and just having fun. And they're not there for the same reasons that everybody's there. They're there just to hang out and have fun and they're fans. Not everyone's there as a high level competitor trying to win.
Well, Jackson talked about that. He talked about when he was on the show, and I was like, I couldn't wrap my head around it. He's like, oh no, I would just do all sorts of tricks that were way extreme, more than I was even going to do in my form to try to intimidate the rest of the competition. And in my mind, I'm like, why would you do that's crazy that you would do that? Because I don't have time and energy mentally to focus on them. I need my head focused on what I'm about to do, but he also is trained more than me. So he is probably muscle memory. He don't need to worry about it. He's like, I literally will have my eyes closed and we'll do this.
But it's also different too. I don't think he's going to hurt himself too bad doing that with the bow. Now, if you did that, I've seen people try to do that with tricking and injured themselves right before. Yeah, that's bad. So
these guys have done that the day before the competition and they're totally injured themselves.
Yeah, exactly. Michael Simmons, judge on stage. Yep, did a great job. Congrats on Michael Simmons. I tell you one that
he's a real one too.
A lot of my students and their parents have really let's see, Will said Richie Everidge was on point this weekend. Great job, Richie. All right. That's true. I understand that part. You're right. Yes. And I've seen, not you hit yourself with the bow moving that fast. I've seen Josh Durbin do it, and it was bad. Knocked himself out on stage at a tournament. I think
for real?
Yeah, it was bad. So here's the other one. All right. Oh, my students and their parents have just said that the last 2 years in that 16-17 ring, or 14-15 and 16-17 ring, Kurt Shyrock has done a great job with those guys, those competitors, just keeping the tempo fun and going, just being overall just a great judge for them. And, so good job to Kurt. And I watched and I witnessed this as well. Did a great job. Nick Kane to me is always a class act judge. Done an amazing job. These guys have, just do a lot of great things, man, for our sport. So let's see. Here we go. The 1 foot out of bounds rules need to go back to 2 feet, 1 point the other side. The problem is on this. Okay, so Jesse and I were talking, as you know, we're working on pushing Kappa again soon. So we will have that out to you guys soon. The issue with this tournament is the size, and so the on the floor rings are 6x6. Would we like to have everyone be 7x7 so that way the border, and you step into that border, that's 7, or can it be 8x8 and it's a 7x7 ring and then the 8 be out of bounds? That's what we would like to have. The stage, I think,
is very, very big.
Yes. I think that works out the best. Yes, David, always an amazing judge. Definitely in the fighting, I would say David is one of the top judges.
Well, let's touch on that 1 foot out of bounds rule, because I got something to say. So I
Christian
think
says that as well.
Really
7x7, please.
Yeah, I like 7x7 as well, Christian.
Now, are we talking about which way we saying 7x7 though? Are we saying 7x7 as the fighting ring?
Correct.
And then the border be able. Okay, yes, I agree.
I think you can't really have a rule that's in black and white. Like, no, if you got 1 foot out, you're out, or if you got 2 feet out, you're out. If you don't even know if you don't even have in black and white what your ring size is supposed to be, right? What is the ring size?
I think that is in there though. I thought that is in there. I thought it's
here's
still
the problem. There's the ring size, but then it's like, oh, we can make it bigger if we want. Like, no, you can't. You can't just make it bigger if you want, because I'll tell you this: if I'm fighting in a 7x7 ring or an 8x8 ring, that is a massive difference.
Huge difference.
If I was fighting, if I was down, 2 points, and I'm fighting as Tyreek, I'm never going to catch that guy. I'm never going to catch him. Right? Are you kidding me? Right? He has no reason to engage with me. He could win. Right? But he has no reason to engage. How am I going to catch in an 8x8 ring? I'll never be able to corner him because he's quicker than me. So an 8x8 ring changes everything. Right? So you have to have it set. It's going to be this. And I don't even think most of the rings are 7x7. I think most of them are 6x6. And some of them are 7x7.
Yeah. I believe Battle does a good job of making it 7x7. And there's some other tournaments as well that are doing that. So 7x7 feet, no matter if you get pushed. Okay. So here's the deal. With that, I think consistency. The thing as far as the NASCA certification, you know what? I feel like we got to start from the top and then go to the bottom.
Ooh, talk to me.
And Reed and I had a great conversation as well about this. And NASCA's just got to embrace the sucky time, right? Anytime you change something like this and make something that's going to push the sport forward, you just got to realize it's going to suck for a year. All right. When you make it, hey, everyone, all the judges have to be NASCA certified. But you have to do that to get something moving forward. Okay. The other thing is you need to start from every NASCA center. If you're a center, let's focus on certifying the centers first. Let's get all of them focused. So, because they're the one who runs the ring. They're the one that has to be trained the most. Because look what we talked about earlier. Is there too much on the center? Heck yeah, there is.
Yes.
So shouldn't that center be the most trained, certified, and half of the, how many centers were in the judges meeting? Maybe 2.
Ooh,
Really?
really?
And I'm not saying those judges that weren't at the meeting aren't good judges. They're amazing judges. But we gotta, it's about the culture, the look, the professionalism. Start with them and then go down from there. And then we start getting one corner for every time. And then it gets to, you know what? Everyone wants to do it, right? But you got to have the center setting the tone for, you saying it's fighting for forms too, because that center needs to know. Thank you, Christine. That was one of the biggest things. I just like another thing. I'm sitting there with you guys. I'm like, another thing for the center handler, another thing for the center handler. I feel like we're putting too much on those guys. Judges judge, let the coordinators coordinate, and let the scorekeepers scorekeep. And, we need to have a head scorekeeper, that's around, that's involved of anything that is an issue. We need to have coordinators really pushing that. We have great coordinators with Mr. Rudolph and Mr. Presley. Have some coordinators, some of those promoters being the coordinators per 2 rings or 3 rings, But
yeah, the coordinators are very good. Even Ron Kane, like you never see him in one place for 3 seconds, right?
Right.
They're always moving, right? You'd be like, oh, I saw Ron Kane. We went that way.
All right, 2 more shout outs. 2 more judges shout outs. Give me 2 more judges, guys, to shout out. Oh, another one. And while that's happening, one of the funniest things ever was, we're just going to call him the TV guy. I don't know what Jesse's saying. The TV guy. All right. So these guys, man, Christine and them did a great job they gave away these huge TVs, okay, to the most supporting school. Okay. So the Claire's team got one, and America. All right. So here's the deal. They were waiting on stage for Vince Little for like 4 minutes. He didn't know it. Every time everyone kept telling him, hey, you want a TV? And he just thought that he was joking. So he kept going around, walking around. Everyone's like, no, you need to go on stage. They're calling you right now. What? What for? What are you talking about? And it was so funny. And all right, Cam, we'll get to that in a second. Yep. And he really had no idea until the end. We finally told him, yeah, go up there. They want you. You won. So he got up there. And it's so funny. He videoed himself putting him and I guess some of his teammates putting the TV, fitting it in his car. I don't know how, man. It was nuts. But
how big is the TV?
I think it was like 75, but maybe more than that. No, yeah, it was huge.
It's just too much TV.
Yeah,
it's too much.
Cameron says the Pleiades, great job. The Pleiades this weekend, John and Mike. They're always out there working. 85. Okay, it was 85. Oh, my God.
85 inches?
Yeah, so.
Oh, that's too much. I don't
so,
think
yeah, so,
that big in a store.
Yeah, it was gigantic, man. It was gigantic. There's
no point in going to the movies. Don't go to the movie theater. Just stay home.
That's right. But man, overall, a great event. I loved it. And you know what? I think there's things that, we can all get better at. And I think that's something that we all collect. Yeah, there we go. The second place was 75. Okay. So I think that's what he had. So the overall, I think it takes a team effort though, for us to do that. And I think, Christine, Mark, Bob, they are working together well to try to get this NASCA certification going. And I hope that everyone else, not just the promoters, but other teams, other people, judges, get on board as well and see how we can help on this. Maybe we get involved somehow on this. I think it's very important to do that. But I do think that, when you're setting everything up as a promoter, the main, what you need to say, especially if they're a center, this is when I need you here. We're doing this meeting and you have to be here or you don't get this, But But yeah.
Obviously we'll
Canelo.
do anything we can on our end over here, is whatever that's going to be. You know, it's funny though, Jeff. I was having a conversation with another martial artist today, and I got kind of a backhanded compliment. It really wasn't. It was kind of a dig. You know, I was talking to him. We were talking about this guy's, daughters testing for black belt, and I'm like, man, that's the way it starts, man. And you can't even have dreams about a black belt Hall of Fame unless you're a black belt. And he's like, man, yeah, you're in the black belt Hall of Fame, right? I'm like, no, no, I'm not. Thank you very much. Thanks for that reminder. No,
Wow.
He's like, you don't think you could get there at some point? And I'm like, my competition cement is dry. Like, it's over.
Right.
No, it's not gonna happen. And then he goes like this, and he goes, oh, well, you got the podcast.
There we go. Yep, we got the podcast.
You know what?
Yeah,
that's actually a good point. This is my shot. This is it. This is the only shot.
Hey, Andrew, you're right. Bob Liker did a great job as a center as well. You know what you say though, what we actually can do. Well, we wouldn't have everyone telling us to asking me, hey, you need to talk about this on your show. Hey, you need to bring this up. Hey, this is something that you can push, because things have changed, because we speak and we say it, and so that we do have a powerful platform here that we've been doing for almost 5 years. And you know what? It's crazy. And what's cool is that, when I saw Pedro, that was the thing after I was like, dude, we got to get you on the show. And Akin Williams is right there. He's like, yeah, you got to be on the show. And coach is like, yes, you got to be on the show. And it's cool to not people just to, when we first started, it was, oh yeah, whatever, laugh it off,
we didn't know we had enough for 5 episodes.
Exactly. So, and talking to some people that are used to be in this world, that are, in the stunt world, they don't necessarily listen to our show all the time, but they say, well, how many episodes you got? I was like, over 230. We've been doing this for almost 5 years. Like, oh crap. Okay. You guys are legit. This isn't just a fly in the pan thing. So, thank you guys for the support.
For the fun of it.
Yes, we love this. So thank you for the support. But guys, thank you for Ocean State for believing in what we do here to get their word out about their event, and other tournaments. Give us a call. Text me about it. Text Travis about it, and we'll make it work. And we're just gonna keep pushing the sport. This is what we love.
What's your next event?
I'm going to be at Quebec Open. So I'm excited. I have not been there in years. So super excited for Quebec Open.
When was your last Quebec?
2001 when I won.
Get out.
Yeah.
Really?
Because I was supposed to be there in 2003. I had the plane ticket and everything, but we couldn't make it over the border. So yeah.
Don't worry. They still speak French.
Okay.
It hasn't changed.
Cool. Oh man, good stuff. All right, guys.
This has been another episode of Inside Scoop with Alex and Jeff. I'm Alex Dingman.
I'm Jeff Doss. See you guys next week.